Awesome, brilliant. Okay, so cool. So let's go through this evening. Okay, so what I want to do is we're going to do some reflection in the mirror work. As you can already tell, it's quite a reflective day. Number two, we're going to talk about some of the comments that I've read about doing the task. We're going to talk about where you are right now. We're going to talk about mission building, as you can see from my whiteboard behind me. We're going to talk about the bigger picture, and then we're going to address as many of the questions as we can get as possible. This session shouldn't really last much longer than an hour. Okay, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate England's on as well. I appreciate you probably had long days, but if you really want to do the work on yourself, then we're going to put the time and energy into ourselves. Does that make sense? Okay. So if you're watching back, remember just to put in watching back in the comments, just so I can still see who's still taking part and who's not, basically. Cool. So I really want to take some of the things that you've been doing today and kind of talk about it and discuss it, so that we can understand the bigger picture. And I want to start with where this all came from. So the birth of this mentality really came from me leaving the military, having a mission, not literally, but having a mission about where I was going to go within my military life, leaving the military, then not having a mission, the consequences of that, and then me rebuilding my life on a mission. So I've only ever known myself to win in life being on a mission. Okay, and I think it's important to understand the personal journey, understand where we are coming from, because I didn't just write this off the back of my thought process that on the beach one morning on the morning routine and think, oh, do you know what? I'm going to write a book on fucking creating life missions, right? This is based off my own personal journey, my own learning experiences, and my own strategies that I put into play to help me get back on track. So everything that you're going through right now, there's nothing that none of you have written down that I haven't been through, okay, in terms of my own personal journey. And I don't believe that you can ever preach to people unless you've been through it yourself, okay? And you have to experience the pain and the suffering and the mentality that you go through to be able to come out of that. So for me, when I left the military, I had a purpose, I had clear direction, I embraced life. Everything that the military gave me a love for life. I didn't struggle mentally, I didn't struggle emotionally, I didn't have any issues. My life was full of happiness in the military because I was doing what I loved. I was around the best blokes in the world. I had a great personal and home life. I was fit. I had opportunities, had all of the things that you would want in a life. And then what I did was decide to leave the military because I did not want to be a weekend father anymore. When I joined the Corps, I didn't have kids. When I had 2 kids, I didn't want to be away from them. So I had to embrace myself and change my lifestyle. So I left, and I thought it would be a really simple transition. Okay, super simple transition. And what I ended up doing is falling into a pit of despair. So in the first 6 months, it was clear that I struggled with PTSD, and it was the traumatic, it was the trauma of changing my lifestyle and identity. So I was, for certainly the first year and a half, 2 years, still thinking that I was Sergeant James Boardman in an environment where Sergeant James Boardman did not exist. And that created, and I still had this mission that came with me from the military, and that did not belong in this world. So I did not adapt, I did not overcome, I did not evolve, and I did not know how to get out of that state of mind. And when I realized that I was going through life and I was actually lost with no identity, no direction, no idea where I was going, no idea what I was going to become, that's when I convinced myself that I had depression and I was struggling with anxiety. All these emotions were the direct result of being in a chaotic life. And the more that we tell ourselves that we are depressed and are anxious, the longer we will stay in that state of mind. And that's where I stayed for so long, because I told myself that. That was my narrative. And I was looking for some knight in shining armor to come along and help me get out of that state. And when I realized that no one was coming to do that other than me, and I was responsible for getting myself out of that, I really lived a very painful life of 3 years where I wasted time, energy and focus, had broken relationships, drunk myself under the table, all of the things that we do as men when we self-sabotage ourselves because we're not showing up to the mission, okay? And that was all because I didn't have a life mission, okay? Now, it's not as dramatized as that. For some of you, it literally just might be that you're at a level and you want to get to the next level, okay? For some of you, have been in the trenches for ages and you're not reaching your potential. So we work with lots of different men that already are doing really well, very success driven, but need to know how to get to the next level. And they keep overthinking that process, and they keep getting caught up in their own belief system that they can go further. And there are some guys that need to work a little harder to get to that top of that success ladder. God, I'm stuttering. I never stutter. And that's really important to understand, because what the life mission brings is what I'm going to show you in a minute, is a whole host of habits, routines, mindsets, attitudes that are going to really guide you through the rest of your life. I'm not here trying to teach you something that's a quick fix, okay? I'm not here for the quick fixes. I'm here for the long-term changes, okay? Sustainability until you die. So when we say we want to transform you, we want to transform you over a period of time by creating a life mission. So the first thing we're going to do is do the reflection in the mirror. So if you think about what you've done today, it's been a bit of an eye-opener for quite a lot of you in terms of going, actually, I've got no plan. Actually, I've got no direction. Actually, I don't know what I want out of life. So we're asking and challenging ourselves with all of these questions. And it's a good thing. Okay, so what I saw in there is that I put here a lot of you being super harsh and hard on yourself. Okay, I want to just explain something to you. You don't know how to live your life. No one has taught you how to live a successful, structured, controlled life. When you're in school, you get taught all the rights and wrongs. You get taught the alphabet. You get taught algebra. You get taught everything. You get taught how to follow processes all the way through. And then when we leave an education system, you then have to figure out for the rest of your life. So if you ask yourself, if you're a 40-year-old man now and you left education at 18, that's 22 years, most likely the majority of you have not studied how to build structure, how to be in more control of your time, how to be more productive, how to switch off from work better, how to regulate your emotions better. Of course you don't know how to do it. So don't beat yourself up. It's like asking my 16-year-old boy to get in a car and saying, right, drive me to the shops. He wouldn't know how to do it. Okay, so that's really important to understand. So you being hard on yourself, you beating yourself up, is just going down that pity party, that pity route that we don't want. Do you remember? It's the low emotional state. Why am I not at that standard? Why have I not got no plans? What we want to do is look at that reflection and go, how do I build a life mission? How do I take the next steps to finding more purpose in life? How do I improve the control that I have in my business or my career? How do I lose those two stone, shape up and keep it off? How do I become a leader to my wife? So one of the first things that we have to do when we're reflecting the man in the mirror, and it's not being hard on ourselves, it's making sure that we're really, really clear that actually this is part of the process. It's looking at the mirror and we're looking at ourselves at bare bones and going, I'm pretty shit. I'm showing up and I'm not showing up at the level I should be. I'm pretty average. No wonder that I'm nowhere near where I want to be. No wonder that I don't feel fulfilled. No wonder that I'm not happy. No wonder that I keep feeling like I'm anxious and depressed. No wonder I keep hitting the bottle. It's just, it is what it is. You are where you are. And it doesn't matter about that anymore, because if you're willing And if you accept the challenge, that is the before picture. So what we have to do now is create the after picture. So whenever you see a fitness transformation, you see someone that was really overweight, and then 12 weeks later you see them and they're really thin. You're like, wow, that's amazing. But for you, your before picture was that exercise and task today. That was an unpacking of your life. That was an unpacking of the process. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, just before I move forwards, if that makes sense, just hit the blue thumb button for me or comment. That's probably what it feels like. Okay, it feels like that task unpacked you. Okay, and you probably felt quite fragile. Well, actually, you should feel really proud, because that is a huge win. When was the last time that you did that? Right? Okay. So let's look at where you are right now. Some of you might get triggered by this. Some of you might accept it. It is what it is. Not everyone's going to be there. But I would say that for 99.9% of you in this group, you are in this cycle of chaos. Okay? It's this chaos cycle. And there are 4 things that are happening in this chaos cycle. Okay? Number 1, you are reactive to everything that is happening around you in your life. You're reactive to problems. You're reactive to stress. You're reactive to your plans. You're reactive to every single second. And when you're constantly reactive, it's exhausting, mentally, emotionally, and physically, right? If you're not proactive and you're on top of that game, you're constantly on the defense. It's like being in an MMA cage and constantly defending. Always defending, never attacking. Does that make sense? And that's where we are in that chaos. We're like, oh my God, I'm just defending everything that's being thrown at me, and it's exhausting. Okay? It's a survive mentality. So instead of thriving and trying to grow your life and grow you and be on the offensive, you're just in this, oh, I just got to get through. It's like the comment that I mentioned. Somebody on social media said, oh, I think it's worth celebrating if you survive the next 5 years. No, it's fucking not. And as some of you said yesterday, who wants to survive the next 5 years? I don't. I want to do the work that is required to get me to the place that I want to be in 5. Like, I've only got this one shot. This one shot. You've only got that one shot to make the most of it. And what's quite daunting is today I went to a wake of a friend of ours, a really good friend, and he's only 50. He didn't even make 50. And I'm 46. That's 4 years away. At any point, it could go. And we're either going to look back, okay? We're going to look back and we're going to go, if I was in my final week, did I make the most of every single opportunity that I had, or did I just survive and react? Okay? The other thing that I would say is that if you do live a long life, when your grandkids are on your knees and they went, Granddad, tell me something inspiring about your life. What is the story that you would tell them? What are the stories that you could leave as the legacy to say, my God, my granddad was at it all of the time. He was on it all of the time. Man, he pushed, he drove, he exhausted his potential, pushing that business, pushing that standard, going for that race, always loving to his wife, always loving to his kids. What story would you tell your grandkids? And I think that's so important as part of your life mission. But that won't happen if you're here. You then go into this low emotional state of, why is it always me? Why is everyone against me? Why does it never work out for me? Why does this always happen? I've spoken about this, right? And because the chips are down, okay, we allow the feelings to overwhelm the actions. So when you're feeling low, you don't do anything for yourself. You're waiting for that knight in shining armor to come and save you, but they're not. It's your responsibility where you are right now. It's your responsibility how you react to everything that goes on in your life. Okay? Whether you like that or not, that is the truth. If you're broke, that's your fault. You can do something about it. There are people who are blind, who have one leg, who have no arms or legs, and they still go out and win a gold out of Paralympics. So anything is possible. Okay, anything is possible. It's not your fault the things that happen to you, it's how you react. It's how you pick yourself up. It's how you flick the switch and go, hey, do you know what? This is happening, but I'm still going to show it regardless. That's self-discipline. That's what we're going to go into tomorrow. But self-discipline is the ability to do what is required regardless of how you feel. And if you master that, you'll be unstoppable. And then the last one is that this produces average standards. And average standards brings an average life. So if you're not where you want to be, it's because you're in here. So what I really want to see, if we're going to confront the man in the mirror, is that who at any level feels that they're in here. Okay? And this is where you have to be blunt with yourself. Okay? It's hard. Who is in this? Okay, if you're honest, put it in the comments or just hit the like button and just go, that's me. Okay, 100% that's me. Maybe not all of them, maybe just a little bit, maybe slightly inconsistently, but you're certainly stuck in and around that area. Okay, and the reason that we're not there is because of these three key reasons. Number one, there's no strategy. Okay, number two, there is no structure. And number three, there is no routines in your life. Okay, so these three things end up creating the narrative of, I constantly feel anxious. You feel anxious because there's no clarity in your life, because there is no progression. We feel depressed because we constantly are thinking negatively. You constantly keep saying the word, I'm depressed, I'm struggling with depression. That's what I did. And as soon as I stopped saying it, I stopped feeling it. And you just had this resilient mentality. I'm going to come on to this tomorrow. You have this mental resilience where you wake up every single morning and go, I'm going to smash the life out of today. Like, this might not have gone my way. This might have happened, but I'm still going to get through. I refuse to have that negative narrative, because that's what you end up all you're knowing. That's all you'll know. Okay. Okay. So that's there. That is where you are. Does that make sense to everyone before we move on? Because now we're going to get on to the good stuff, okay? No more doom and gloom. Even just talking about that makes me feel like there's a black cloud over my head, which is why we don't go down that road. But it's important. I have to identify this character to you. That is you. In some way, shape or form. It always is for everybody, or she wouldn't be here. So this is the beauty of a mission. So I'm going to go through the blueprint of how this happens, okay? So in order for us to thrive, we have to have a process. Now the process is building a mission. Now what I'm going to show you, you might think, Jesus, but I'm going to put context on everything, all right? And we'll stop and you can ask questions at the end. So the thing that ultimately I'm trying to get to achieve, my mission is to help 10,000 men build their life mission. Okay, if there 10,000 men build their life mission, it means that there are 10,000 men out there who are being better husbands, who are being better fathers, who are being kinder to themselves and are improving their lives. And in some way, shape or form, I can play a very small part on their lives. And that's legacy. That's what we're trying to achieve, right? So that, for me, that's a mission. So I create a vision, not goals, not plans, because that's too far away. But I create a 5-year vision of what I want to achieve. Okay, so I am currently working to a 5-year vision that takes me to when I'm 50. There are outcomes that I want to achieve when I'm 50. That is going to take me on a process. Okay, I then can create 3-year. In fact, let me take a step back. I reverse engineer the process. So we're going to reverse engineer the process, because I can't just go, I'm going to follow this 5-year vision and that's what I'm going to work towards. Okay, so 5 years here. I then would reverse engineer to where do I need to be after 3 years to make sure I'm on track here? Where do I need to achieve? What do I need to achieve after 1 year so that I'm on track to hit this? So I'm on track to hit that. What do I need to achieve in the first 12 weeks? That takes me a step closer to hitting that 1 year. What do I need to achieve in the first 28 days to make sure that I hit this goal? That takes me onto this goal. That takes me onto this goal. That takes me onto this goal. And then we go all the way back to going, what do I need to do in the first week? What do I need to do in the first day? So everything that you do on this day here has a purpose, because it's to move you closer to this. This is a North Star. This is a reference point. This is what we're aiming for. Does that make sense to everyone before we move on? Just hit the button, any button will do, just so I know. Does that make sense to you? This becomes what we call a direction process. This now opens the door for you to go on this mission. This is a mission. This is a life mission that you're on. And I'm going to tell you where this journey takes you, okay? So when you start working with me, or you start working on this, we wouldn't start worrying about this stuff until we've done 6 months work on ourselves. So in the first 4 weeks, what we try to do is get the guys to focus on having a 7-day mission and following through on that 7-day mission. So what we do is go, this is what you're going to achieve over 7 days, and this is what you need to achieve on day 1. And then all of a sudden, you've got like this purpose, you've got this direction, and you're embracing life. You're like, right, 7-day mission, this is what I was going to achieve. Bang, let's go out and get it done. And then you get to the end of the 7 days, you go, man, I achieved. I did this, man, I'm feeling good. Right, what's next week? And after the first 4 weeks, you'll become really like efficient at doing that. It will become easy. A really good analogy is that if you're bicep curling for the first time, you would start on 6s. So when you start getting to 6s, you go, oh, that's comfortable. I'm going to go up to 8s. Get to 8, you become comfortable with 8s. Go to 10s, boom. Get the picture? So you keep working to your level until it becomes comfortable and the norm and non-negotiable. Then we go up a level. Okay, so that's what we do here. So then for the next 4 weeks, you would then learn how to create that 28-day mission. And then towards the end of the 8 weeks, we then start looking at, okay, what's the 90-day mission? Okay, so what this does is that when we get here, we're then proficient. We go, right, this is what I want to achieve over 28 days. Now we're going to talk about that on Wednesday in great detail, because you on Wednesday are going to create your 28-day missions. Okay. So then when we get to the 12 weeks, towards the end of the 12 weeks, we're then going to learn about how do we build a mission over a year. Okay. And then when we get to the end of that, for the following 6 months, for the following 90 days, which takes us to 6 months, we then learn how to build out that long-term mission right there. Okay. So that kind of gives you an idea. As you go along, you become stronger mentally, emotionally, physically. You become more conditioned to the process. And this is what takes you through and pulls you away from this. Okay. Happy so far? Everyone with me so far? Cool. Everyone's saying yes, which is good. Okay. So let's look at what this does for you. Okay. I kind of went on a bit of a mind map here. I'm not going to go into all of these in real detail, but I want to give you some element of understanding, because this is the surface. If you think about this is the surface, this is the soil, these are the roots. Yesterday, I said that whenever you build a life, whenever you transform, you've got to dig down before we dig up. Okay, so before we can start looking forward to all of this, we've got to build the foundations. This is what I'm talking about. Does that make sense? So here, as part of this process, we're going to get 2 things from them. We're going to get purpose and we're going to get direction. These 2 things will change your life. Okay, so if we look at the direction, when we look at direction, it gives us 2 main things: structure, routine, and systems. And time, energy, and focus. So control of your time, energy, and focus, and your structure, your routines, and your systems. I'm going to talk a lot more about them on Thursday. Okay. When we look at structure, routine, and systems, we're looking at more growth, because suddenly we go from a chaotic state to a controlled state. So right here, we're looking at more growth. We're looking at more progression. We're looking at more power to ourselves and our own belief system. And we're looking at more opportunities. When we control our time, energy, and focus, we become more controlled, we become calmer, and we become more proactive about our future and what's happening and how we move forwards. Okay. So from going through all of this, all of the process, all the daily stuff that you do, this is all the stuff that's happening inside of your brain. This is all of the new coding going in as you're reprogramming. So you'll suddenly go from a chaotic state to a controlled state because you'll know where your time, your energy and focus is. If any of you watched Tim's success story today, I showed you our spreadsheet of how we manage our time in time blocks, how you get stuff done, how you prioritize, how you build boundaries and barriers between work and personal life. Then on this side, we look at purpose. So we have more meaning to life, more priority in life. From the priority side, we then have more connection with the people that we love the most and things we love doing. That gives us more fulfillment, more happiness, more contentment. We look at more productivity from being that priority. You get more done, more belief, more self-worth. 3 key things that men lack. And then when we look this side, the meaning to life, we've got more inspiration, more resilience to do more emotional connection and more self-mastery. So this process here, as we go through this 6-month journey, these are the key roots in your foundations that will change the way that you live your life. And I know this because this is what I went through. And I know this because this has helped all of the thousands of people that have come through our front door, just like you. Okay? What is most sad is that 90% of the people that walk through our front door ignore all this. There will be people ignoring it now, even on this challenge. And that will never change. And that's okay, because the people that do pay attention to it, it will change their lives. And that's what matters. And understanding that this is a journey, that you are going to fail on this journey, but you're going to learn. And you're going to fail forwards. And you're going to know more about yourself. And you're going to peel the layers back. And your wife is going to notice. Or your kids are going to notice. And you're going to notice. And you're going to be proud of yourself. So when we ignite a life mission, voila, we suddenly find more purpose. We create more direction. And we embrace life so much more. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Let me know what your thoughts are on this in the comments. Okay. Because this is, in theory, what we help men do. All of this. There is all systems, there are structures, there's training, everything in here. And this is the mission. This is what we're trying to achieve. So this is the development process, the roots. This is the directional process. When we get to this stage, here, especially into the last part of the 6 months, we start building up. We start building the skyscraper. Make sense? Cool. Feels a bit daunting, but surely living the way that you're living now is more daunting, right? Surely it feels more daunting to stay in the same position that you're in now rather than doing the work. Okay? Like, this is the thing that people don't tell you. It's fucking hard work to change and transform your life. It requires, it's not for everybody. It isn't for everybody. Do you know what I mean? Being daunted by it is like, wow, geez, there's a lot to go. But it all starts with just here. Like, this is just, I'm painting a big picture for you here, guys. All you guys would do to start with is here. 1% a day, every day, forever. This is a whole journey over 6 months. I'm just giving you the lay of the land. All you would do is focus on this here and the early skill sets that you need. Okay? Small steps. This all starts by showing up 1% every single day. By just doing your morning accountability. By just getting up. Okay? So, you can either feel daunted by staying the same as you are right now for the next 5 years, versus being daunted about having a plan. It is really hard. It's really hard. And it's not for everybody. Little, tiny steps take you a long way. As my jiu-jitsu coach would always say, millimeters lead to miles. And I love that saying because he always talks about that in terms of, I want to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Okay, I'm nearly at my purple belt. But it's taken almost 5 years to just get to that stage. It's going to take me another 6 years, 7 years to get to become a black belt. And I've got to all those finer details for that bigger picture. Know what I'm saying? So it's all about it all starts here. Bang, on that first day. Cool. All right. So let's answer some questions. Let's have a look here. Right, so today some of the guys put some questions in, so I'm going to go through and answer those questions for you. Okay. Don't be afraid of the hard work, guys. Don't be, honestly, it is well worth, it is worth the effort. I promise you. Anyone that is like in here that already works with me will tell you that it is worth, it's absolutely worth it. Okay. Let's get these questions in, shall we? Some good questions in here today as well, guys. Cool. Boom. Ba-boom. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go. I'm going to whiz through as many of these questions as possible. Okay, so how do you start to deal with crippling self-doubt? And there is only one option here, because self-doubt will never go. You will never not have doubt, because that is part of your human psyche. It's the way that we work, right? We self-doubt ourselves. Okay. The only way you're ever going to overcome it is by showing up and being in a process and working on yourself. The more you work on yourself, the more aware you become. The more aware you become, the quicker you can flick the switch inside of your brain to recognize that you are doubting yourself. You then change the narrative inside of here and going, do not doubt yourself. Let's go. Game face on, game face on. Whenever I face self-doubt, I always go back to my training, my basic training as a Royal Marine. And I go, right, let's go, like Green, Royal Marine, Sergeant Royal Marine. And it almost invokes this alter ego inside of you. And as you build yourself up, you'll build that up, you'll trigger that, and you'll go, right, no, stand up, let's go, let's get this done, let's get this presentation done, let's stand up and be counted, let's overcome that. And the more you do that, the more habit-based it will become. You get into that habit of overcoming self-doubt, okay? Does that make sense to everyone? Cool, all right. The question of mine is this. All great questions above. Mine is this. The future that I want is the one I've wanted for a while now. I can see it, smell it, and I know what needs to happen to make it a reality. So why haven't I? Is that I just thought of it? It is scared of putting in the work? Or is it that I may not be committed to the future, as otherwise I would have made some of it happen? So perhaps I need a new vision. Even just writing this, I think I figured out the answer. And a bit to all of it. So basically this is procrastination. So procrastination often comes when there is overthinking, which when I'm reading that, I think Jonathan wrote that. So when I'm reading that, there's an element of overthinking because you're almost verbally brain dumping there. There's an element of fear, and there is an element of probably just committing. Okay. So this is one big thing that many men don't do, is they don't commit. And they don't commit because it's always the worst case scenario that they go to when they're thinking about the thing that they're going to do. This is not going to work for me. I'm going to fail at this. Fucking right you are. Like 100%. There's no way any of you are ever going to do anything and not fail, because that's the unpacking process, right? When you go on a journey, when you try something, when you take a leap of faith, go into it going, fine. If we lose, we lose. Do you know what I mean? At least we've learned from it. Rather a life of old wells than what ifs, right? When you get to your 85th birthday, are you going to look back and go, fucking hell, what was I overthinking all that shit for? What? Because you would have failed? Like, you are too afraid to fail, guys. That is half of the problem. When you should be looking to fail as much as physically fucking possible. Because the quicker you fail, the more experienced and wiser you become. And the more experienced and wiser you become, the more efficient you become. Like, stop looking at failure as the enemy. It's the rocket fuel to you winning. Take the plunge, take the step, show the courage, Dare to dream. See what happens. Fuck. In 500 years, you're going to be dead and no one's even going to know who the fuck you are. And no one even gives a shit if you fail, guys. And this is one thing I'm truly passionate about, because so many men will stay the same for the rest of their life because they don't overcome that. They procrastinate. All the bullshit that goes around their head. Okay. You've got to change that, guys. Okay. You right now, whatever it is that you're dwelling on, just fucking do it. See what happens. Stop overthinking the worst case scenario. Stop giving a shit what anybody else thinks. Do you know? That's exactly like, I didn't do videos. I didn't do videos for a year because I was too worried about what people thought of me. Now I am who I am. I swear. I'm fiery. I'm straight shooting. People don't like it. They can fuck off. That's how I think of it. I am who I am and I get results out of guys because I'm like that. And that's the way it comes across. I'm not afraid to fail anymore in that respect because I've got into the habit of just overcoming that. You can do the same. And as soon as you do it once, you'll get a thirst for it and then you'll be unstoppable. Okay. Whew, got carried away there, didn't we? Okay. With all the information out there, could you please explain why we trust the program and not used as a puppet to make money, life easier for others? This question proves to myself I would like to change and become more positive. Yeah. So straight away, that's, that is probably quite a negative comment. With all of the information out there, could you please explain why we trust the program and not used as a puppet to make money, life easier for others? Please explain why we trust the program and not use as a puppet. Well, I'd like to think half of me thinks that you're here for you. Like no one's using anyone as a puppet. So I think that straight away is a cynical, probably a critical mentality. I think everyone should be skeptical, 110%. But not everyone is the same. There is a lot of people out there who are, I would say, don't have the right levels of integrity. And I think it's right to be skeptic until you can find a connection with somebody that you realize is going to help you. I would probably say if your car broke down, would you still think the same of a mechanic who is going to fix your car? Would you still think it was that of a doctor if he was seeing you and helping you in a doctor's room, right? So how can you trust a doctor still getting paid to serve you? A mechanic is still getting paid to serve you. Do you know? So I think when you look at coaches, what they're trying to do is share their experience to be able to help you, to give you guidance. I mean, you do these 5 days, and you go away and you've got 5 days worth of content free. Do you know what I mean? So I think, yes, I really like the fact that you're honest as well, Willow, with the question proves to myself I would like to change and become more positive, and it's trying to see the other side in people, right? I hope that makes sense. Daniel, how do I juggle work, family and gym and make everyone happy? God, that is a question that would take an awful long time to answer. So I think what you have to do, it comes down to your planning. It comes down to what you need. It comes down to the fact that actually you have to really make sure you're doing the things that make you the leader of your family. If you don't make you the leader of your family, if you're not training, then you're not being able to exercise to relieve stress, to prioritize yourself, to self-regulate yourself, which means you're going to be a shit around the house. So explaining to people why you need that time down the gym, I think is a really good, way of kind of looking at this. At the end of the day, you're never going to fucking please everyone anyway. So if someone's moaning and bitching and whinging, you can just say, look, I'm fucking doing this to improve myself so that I can be a better husband or a better father or a better peer or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's really important to understand that, number one, you won't please everybody. I won't please everybody. There will be people that think I'm dicks on this. You can never please everybody. You put a post up and you give away fucking something that someone's going to find a reason to moan about it. So fuck them. Don't feel guilty for prioritizing yourself, guys. That is a low emotional state. Feel proud that you're putting yourself first to lead your kid. If you was in an aeroplane, would you feel guilty about putting your oxygen mask on before then putting your kids on? Or would you feel guilty that you fucking passed out and you couldn't put the oxygen mask on your family? Like, what would you feel most guilty about? The fact you're passed out, or the fact that you got yourself some oxygen to then take care of everyone else? Okay. Fucking, how do I balance my stakeholders, work, family, friends, and partner? So a lot of this is down to time, energy, and focus, guys, right? So when you're planning, it's about having a structure. So if you watch Tim's success story today, about halfway through, we share a graph or a spreadsheet of how you can manage your time, your energy, and focus. So what we call this is time blocks. So when you're at college, you'd have a timetable and it'd tell you what lessons you've got at what time. So sometimes you might not even be in on a Tuesday. Mondays you might be in at period 2 and period 5. So you could base your life all around this timetable as a kid. And it's the same in everyday life right now. So we have an early AM, so all the things you're going to do, and you have time blocks, and they're usually within hour periods. Then you have time blocks for the late morning, time blocks for the early afternoon, and then late afternoon blocks. So what you're basically doing is what you're going to do in that time block, and then what you need to achieve in that time block. And then you go, right, cool. Now I know the top 3 things that I need to focus on for the day, where my priorities are, where my time's going, where my energy going, is where my focus is going. And when you get good at this, you know that that time that you're using, those time blocks, are in alignment with the things that you said you were going to achieve. Okay. Again, this is where it comes down to nobody knows how to manage their time. No wonder you don't know how to fit it all in, because you've never been taught it, because you've never done a course on time management or productivity. So how would you know? So that's the basic level of understanding, right? How do you feel with the overthinking and the fear of failure at every turn? So I think we've dealt with that question. Since being told I have ADHD, this has made me really start looking at my overthinking. I mean, you don't even have to have ADHD to overthink. Like, I've got that, and I don't, overthinking is going to happen to everybody. Whether you've got ADHD, whether you're autistic, whether you're not diagnosed with any of those things, we all overthink. Again, it's the control element. It's how do we control the overthinking? How do we flick the switch inside of our head that goes, wait a minute, let's put some rational on here. Let's put some perspective on here. Let's think logically. When you're working on your time, energy, focus and your directional work, you're naturally calmer. So when you're calmer, you can make better decisions. Okay. So we can go, right, way, I'm thinking worst case scenario here every time. Then we bring it back. Then we put some logic on this, and then let's execute a decision. Make sense? I do okay for a while. So straight away in that first sentence, that doesn't tell me that you're reaching your potential. Okay. And it's nearly like I self-implode, such as a week without eating crap, and the next day coming down the road, 8 chocolate bars and feeling wick. How do you discipline yourself? You keep working on yourself, right? So the first thing is balance. Understand doing okay is number 1, not the standard that you should be looking for. What I want to read is I do outstanding. I live my best life. I show up to the highest level. Straight away, the standards are not high enough. Okay. So because the standards are not high enough, we allowed the self-discipline to lower because of something that's going on emotionally around your life, with something that's happening in your life, with the feelings that are overwhelming you. They overwhelm you. We have that weak mentality and we go, fuck it, I'm going to eat some chockies, right? So I'm going to feel shit and undo everything. Then you feel sorry for yourself because then you've had the chocolate bars and you've undone all the good work. All right. There's nothing wrong with having a day where you allowed yourself a chocolate bar or you allowed yourself a drink. Balance. But self-discipline comes from doing what is required regardless of how you feel. And it comes from the standards that you set yourself. Respect yourself enough to have high standards for yourself. Okay. What do you do when you have those days where everything goes wrong and you miss every time slot each time? How would you suggest getting back on track, not to be too hard on yourself and be harder on yourself? One bad day does not mean one bad life. So meaning, if you have a bad day, wake up, look at the plan that you create before you went to bed, follow the plan, and you go again. Whether you feel happy or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you show up. And because you're showing up, because you're doing the work, even if you're just walking around and you're feeling glum and you're not feeling up for it, you're still doing what is required to achieve your mission. And ultimately, what we want you to achieve is your mission. There are some days when I wake up and go, fuck this, like, I'm just not in the mood. And I might be doing the work and I might not feel like it, but it's doing what is required. And you do that over and over and over and over again, your life will change, okay? Then you don't look at it as it's a day that's gone wrong or I've missed another time slot. That's low emotional state, right? We go, how do I wake up the next morning and do it? I look at my plan, I set the alarm, we go again. Any tech is to stop being such a people pleaser? Don't be. Okay, you will never please everybody. I think I've already touched on that. How can you bring yourself to the point where you put yourself first and move forward without feeling guilty? Guys, what is this like? Putting yourself first, right? What I'm not saying to do is go and get a bachelor pad somewhere, set up with a TV and a couch and a PlayStation, fuck the missus and the kids off and go and live in that bachelor pad. What I'm saying is get up an hour earlier to have a morning routine, okay? Go out, go for a walk, do some meditation, do some press-ups, get clarity on where you want to go for the day, what your top 3 things are personally and professionally that you need to achieve. So you've got clarity. That's prioritizing yourself. So when we look at how do you bring yourself to the point where you put yourself first, how does that possibly, okay, make you feel guilty? Going to the gym and doing 3 30-minute workouts a week, that's 1.5 hours out of a 168-hour week. Why should you feel guilty about that? Share the journey with your wife. This is what I'm doing. I'm improving myself. I want to be a better man. I want to be better this. I want to be better that. Share the journey. Okay? I think there is a level of overthinking about what you're doing to put yourself first. Okay? So it's these small micro things that we do all around here that make you a better man. And when you start showing up and your wife's like, who the hell is this guy? Like all of a sudden there's like a bulging chest. All of a sudden there is a guy who is helping their wife with the chores when they come back. There's a guy who's coming back from work who's not always in a mood. I don't have to tread on eggshells anymore. They are soon going to support you. Okay? What's the best way to get your ass out of bed in the morning? Roll over, put your feet on the floor, stand up and get out of bed. Like, get the fucking work done. Okay? Like, the other option is lying in, putting more weight on, talking to yourself like shit, disrespecting yourself, not being a leader to your wife, not being a role model to your kids, earning less money because you're getting fired from your jobs or you're not showing up to get the promotion or your business is flagging because you neglected yourself. Roll over, turn the alarm off, get up, get downstairs, get to work. How do you get around a spouse that is not supportive? Divorce her. Like, literally. I'm joking. When it comes to a spouse, right, I think it's really important to understand 2 key things with our wives. Understanding and communication. If they don't understand what you're trying to achieve, it's because you haven't explained it well enough. It means that you haven't told them some of the struggles that you are facing. It means that you're not sharing your true self with them. If they fully understand what you're going through, and if they understand what you need to do to be a better man, to be a stronger man, they will support you. If they don't, then do it anyway. And they will see the results of the work that you do. Okay? Make sense? Cool. All right. Guys, that's it for the first night. How does everyone feel about that? So like, there are some strong views. I am like very straight to the point. I apologize if there's kids around. I know that some people don't like the swearing. This is just me. I'm super passionate about this stuff. I feel that this is the best way that I present myself. I feel very passionate about this type of stuff. It also equally drives me mad that men don't do enough for themselves. We have to change this mentality. If you're going to get to this stage here, if you are going to change the way that you live your life, you're going to lead your family. Okay. If you are going to stop your family learning to live without you, if you're going to thrive in your career and you're going to get to the next level and you're going to get to the next level in your business, or you're going to grow your business, or you're going to build the body, you've got to do the hard work. Okay. And you have two choices. There's always a choice. You can lead the group and you can go with your tail tucked between your legs and you go, that guy's a fucker. Or you can go, right, man, that's the truth. I need to show up and do what I need to do. I need to be the guy that I need to be, and I need to snap out the daydream that I'm in and show the fuck up. There's only two options. It's your life. Like, I'm going to live my life to the max. I know that for a fact. And I'm going to take everybody that follows with me, and we're going to fucking reach the top. And you're either at the top or you're not. You're either growing or you're dying. You're one of the two. There is no in between. Okay. And it takes that mentality to change that. All right. Good. All right. Everyone's on board. Tomorrow, we are live again at 7:30. I'm going to talk about self-mastery, which is going to be really cool. A little bit on mental resilience, self-discipline, a little bit on leadership and stuff. So really, it's important to understand self-mastery because it's important to learn how to become the man. When you become the man, you become the asset. When you're the asset, you're the leader. Okay. Wednesday, we're going to create a 28-day mission. Thursday, we're going to look at the 6 key principles all my clients follow to stay on track. And then Friday, we're going to wrap up. Okay. So there's loads of good stuff ahead. Remember, on Wednesday at 12 o'clock, I'm doing the next success story of Marcus. Incredible story of Marcus who overcome stage 4 cancer. He no longer has cancer after being told he had about 4 or 6 months to live. And he followed this process. No excuses, no bullshit. You guys will be humbled Wednesday. Okay. If you think you've got dramas because you're overwhelmed, try having stage 4 cancer, getting over it, and then completely and utterly transforming your life. He is incredible. Okay. Let's get after it. Day 1 done. 4 days to go. Proud of you guys for being here. Be proud of yourselves for being here. Like, all of the work that you've done today is absolutely incredible. Do not underestimate how far you've come in just 24 hours. Of all the work that you've done, all the thought processing, all the self-reflection, it's huge. And only the strongest will be here on Friday. Only the strongest. Okay. Everyone else will go back to that. We'll go back to that. Don't forget that. All right, amigos.